Got it. Perfect. All right, so much like in the same vein we've been going so far, this is yet another plugin to integrate, but as opposed to integrating with the printer, the Air Brother gives you integration with the Brother scanner that Linus provides during the hackathon. Much like the other ones, this again is meant to be for new developers, so we're going to keep it as simple and the most basic functionality that you need in order to start developing your apps using the scanner from Brother. So similarly, I always say this, but since most of you or all of you have been here, this is going to be repetitive. But again, if you're developing in Flutter, at the very least, you need a Windows machine. But if you're going to be developing for iOS or Mac, you need also a Mac to do some configuration there for those devices. This is a regular information of where to find Flutter and how to set up Android Studio if you haven't done so already. So another Brother, unlike the other ones that were packages, this is actually a plugin. So what that means in Flutter terms is that it is a library that has native implementation for the platform. So in other words, it has a native implementation for iOS and it has a native implementation for Android. And those implementations happen to be the official Brother libraries, right? So we just put a layer on top of them to expose them to Flutter. As a result, it only supports Android and iOS. So even though you can build your app for web and Windows and Linux and everything else that Flutter supports, it will only scan for Android and iOS. So how do you bring it? Same way you bring any other library that you do in Flutter. In this case, the name of the library is Air Brother. So it's the latest version is 0.1.4. This is a little bit out of date because I released a recent version a couple of nights ago, but this one will do just fine as well. So how do you get started, right? Like, what do you need to do to scan using the plugin? So we kept it as simple could be. The first thing you do is you say, hey, scan for the devices with the timer. So in other words, I'm going to wait 5 seconds for me to find a device. If I don't find it, I'm going to stop. But if I find it, I'm going to return what is called a connector. And then based on that connector is when I'm actually going to do the work that I need to do, right? So once you have that connector, you can specify some parameter in Air Brother, or like the case with the Android application, we do have the benefit of having the name parameters and default values. So you can literally just take your parameters as they come with the empty constructor and start scanning right away. There's more advanced parameters, and we'll get to that in a second. But if you just really want to scan a page and see what you get, you can literally just get your scan parameters, set your document size, which in this case, I'm picking a random one, which happens to be A6. And then you grab that connector that came from your search and say, hey, perform scan with this scan parameter. Now, what the method does is that it will scan it, save the image to your device, and then it will return an array of pages. So in other words, pictures where it says it. So you might have like page 1.png, page 2.png, but it gives you the entire path in your device. So then from your application, you can do display, or you can do scanning into text recognition or image recognition as you will. As I mentioned, you can really get as complex as you wanted to. In this case, this is one of the things that Linus asked me to do. Is say, hey, can you do this? Make it duplex, 1200 resolution, auto document size, flip on long age, and say, yeah, you have all those parameters accessible to you, so you can customize them as needed. And then again, in the same way, you say connector, they'll perform scan with these scan parameters, and you scan away, right? Again, the library is super simple in the sense that it does all the scanning, the things get saved to your device, and all you really get back is the path to the pages. So once you have the path to the pages, you can do anything else you want to do with it, right? So that takes us to the actual demo. As I mentioned, the library itself is very, very simple. So it really gets to the point of scan and give me what I need to do. So now to the actual demo app that we have, which happens to be, let me close this so that I can start that again. Again, this is one of the mini hackathons one where we have the Keanu who runs a surf shop, and the idea is that you want to make it easy for Keanu to check in customers and check out customers and then calculate the price for the lessons. He gives obviously surf lessons. So what we do is once you have your scanner ready, you check in your customer, and remember that line that I showed before that says, hey, get devices, and with a certain timeout, this is what this one is doing, where it's literally just sitting there and now it's scanning for devices until my scanner comes online, which right now is blinking there. There we go. There we go. So you can actually, one of the things that Keanu likes to do is he likes to give kids free lessons. So you can set the price to a free lesson and fine, or you can make it to a private lesson. So in this case, let's just make it 600, right? Just to be pricey. So you check in your customers. So great, you finish your lesson. The customer comes back once again. You put the credit card onto the scanner, and this time you check him out or check her out. By doing the same, right? You scan the driver's license, it gets the information, looks up the customer on a QuickBase table, and then it says, yes, I have that customer. In this case, what we're doing is we're rounding up to 1 second for the sake of the demo so that you don't get zero. But it will then take the rate, right? It would take the number of hours that you've been times your rate, and then you get to check them out, and the customer goes away. And that is it for that. The reason why I like showing the startup as well is because there's a lot of projects in Flutter that let you do a lot of fancy stuff, and we do have them linked here where you can kind of add a special touch to your apps. One of the sample apps we include, obviously, is the one I just demoed. So if you want to see how everything was done, how the code is, how it integrates with the scanner, how it integrates with the QuickBase tables, what data does it get, everything is available on GitHub for anybody to pick up. There is a much more basic example, which is the Air Brother Prime. And all that really does is it looks for a scanner, it scans an image or a page, whatever you put on the scanner, and then it displays it back to you. So you can see the most basic functionality of the Air Brother. Similarly, if you're going to be printing, we have another brother which we talked about, printer configuration UI project. For those of you who have been here, which I think is most of you or all of you, this is repetitive. But this is where I want to emphasize a little bit, which is if you saw that animation that I put with a little band, that is handled by Flutter with a package called Lottie. So if you have a Lottie animation, you can quickly display it, and it has a little nice animation on your components. The Flutter launcher icons takes care of configuring the entire launcher icons for you for iOS and Android, so you don't have to worry about it. You just run a command, and then it will do it for you. Same thing for the native splash, and same thing for the app name. So with those three packages, you can configure all the little boring stuff about an Android app and take it from a prototype to an actual finished product, right? And that takes us to the end of the presentation, so I can give back the screen back to you, Linus.
Wow, that was fast. Thank you so much. That was quick.
You're welcome. It's a small library, so that's why.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Frank. I think that you actually, I think you intentionally want to complete the whole demonstration in about 10 minutes. It just demonstrated how easy it is. The whole idea of housing Keanu is allow literally millions of small businesses to be able to check in and check out very quickly without having to go through the whole process of entering name and all the information. So this is actually more accurate. So just want to point out, when Frank said he's current Flutter plugin 0.1.4, don't let that scare you, okay? He's 0.1.4. You can remove the first 1.4. So it's actually pretty complete and it's fully functional. That's a good thing. So, but I do have a couple of questions before open to everyone else. As first question for Frank is that you mentioned the fact that it also you can build the app for the Windows and also Mac OS. How confident you are if we take your plugin and actually build one?
Well, those are the official platforms that Flutter supports. So I'm sure it's going to build. Now, when you try to scan, since we don't have the native library for Windows to do the scanning, it's just not going to do anything. You're going to get what is called the platform not supported exception, I believe, is the thing that the plugin sends. And then, that's it. It stops. It doesn't do anything. But build, it should. Like, there's nothing I can see there that would. I haven't tried it because, again, I'm doing mostly web Android and iOS. But again, web is another example. I'm building the entire app on web and then just deploying to an Android device for the last mile to really test, specific things on the device.
All right, very good. That actually, thank you for clarifying that. That's why Bob and Ronit, both from Brother, Bob, our senior product manager from Brothers with us, and Ronit, senior engineer, also with us today. I have a slide later on for them to give us a little bit more detail about this particular scanner, which is available to all the contestants. Okay, so another quick question here is the Google ML, which is the one that you used here. And I believe I was asking you previously, is it an own device or you have to be connected to the cloud in order to have that, have the app working? Do you know?
Yeah, so from what I read, it's supposed to do it on the device with the model, because you do include the actual MLK library with it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did notice, and again, I haven't explored this further, is like, even though it's doing on the device, I would see like, oh, I uploaded a picture to server. Like after it was done, after it was scanning, and I will get all the information back afterwards, I will see a little line that said, upload an image to server, which kind of leads me to believe that maybe they're collecting your pictures to do like a data set for further training.
Okay.
But I did not toggle the Wi-Fi off just to test what will happen. But both the ML text recognition and the ML scanner recognition, I think it's called the scanner, ML scanner. That one also tries to send the pictures to the web as well. So it does a scanning on your device, but then it says, oh, pictures sent to Firebase server, and it's a log that it prints there.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting.
Good, good. Just curious, and then you might want to test it out. Disconnect from the internet and see if that still work. So yeah. Yeah, great. I think many of you may not have a chance to test the scanner DS940DW yet, but it's really, really really advanced in the sense. I asked Frank specifically show that particular parameters, which you can scan a DPI 1200 by 1200, and Bob just told me today this scanner actually scan up to 19,200 DPI, although that's interpolated. The optical scanning DPI for this particular scanner is 600 DPI, which is still relatively very high. So much higher resolution than when you first the scanner for years ago. Okay, so plus the fact that Google ML, which you will see that later on, have a much higher accuracy than many of its competitor. So for comparison's sake, we would like to see when later on, when I invited Evan to demonstrate the Amazon text track. So, he probably can give you some idea how that compare. Okay, enough about me. Anyone else have any question for Frank? Tim, Ed, Aaron, Joe? Steven, you need a few more minutes to have your first app compile?
Yeah, I need a few more minutes. Actually, there was one slide that you showed right before you went into the presentation. So I think it was a blue slide with a bunch of links on it. And it looked like it had some interesting info on it, but I didn't quite get a chance to screen grab that one. Do you have that one for me?
Yes, I have that. It's actually already on the spreadsheet. I sent it to you. If you go down to row number 22, I believe, under scanner, all the way to the right, there's some what we call the bonuses, right? So there are full documentation in there too.
Okay, cool. So all that stuff is on row 22 on the all vendors.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have any question from the babies?
Yes, apparently. He wants to know, is it a dog?
His dog, a dog. Okay. All right, Frank. If nothing else, great job. Thank you so much. It's I said it all. Everything on GitHub. So I'm gonna turn off the recording now.